The disturbing video of 4 Americans who authorities believe were kidnapped just south of the border in Mexico. Tonight, the FBI now working with Mexican authorities. We have the disturbing surveillance video here showing heavily armed men pulling the Americans from their minivan.
March 3rd, 2023, 4 American friends crossed into Matamoros, Mexico, looking for a cheaper medical procedure. They never make it to the clinic. Just minutes later, they're caught in a hail of gunfire and forced into the back of a pickup truck. What happened next would spark headlines across 2 countries and leave 2 families forever broken. Here are 5 last photos of cartel torture victims with disturbing backstories. August 11th, 2023, a grim video surfaced online. 5 young men bound and just days earlier, they'd followed a simple job offer that unknowingly led them into a deadly trap. It started with a simple job offer. 5 friends from Lagos de Moreno, Jalisco, Roberto Olmeda, Diego Lara, Oriel Galvan, Jaime Martinez, and Dante Cedillo were just trying to find work. They were all students, aged 19 to 22. What they didn't know was that this job posting was actually a trap set by the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. The cartel is infamous for using fake job offers to lure unsuspecting young people into their operations. In this case, the offer was for private security work, an attractive promise for young men trying to support themselves and their families. The 5 friends met the supposed contact. That was the last time anyone saw them alive. Days later, a video surfaced online, one of the most disturbing cartel execution videos ever made public. The 5 young men appeared, bound, bruised, and terrified. What followed shocked even those who've become desensitized to cartel violence. This photo, now infamous, shows the 5 friends kneeling on the ground, their faces battered, duct tape over their mouths. It was the last image ever taken of them alive. The cartel forced the boys to participate in their own torture. They were ordered to beat and even each other. When they refused, the cartel members took over. The video that circulated online showed the absolute horror of cartel brutality. These were not criminals or rival gang members, just 5 ordinary young men who answered what they thought was a legitimate job offer. The brutality was meant as a message. Cartels often film these acts to intimidate both rivals and the public, but this particular case hit differently. The youth and innocence of the victims struck a nerve across Mexico and beyond. The video showed the full extent of the violence. The young men were beaten, stabbed, and ultimately their deaths were not quick or merciful. Authorities quickly moved to locate the crime scene. They found a remote ranch outside Lagos de Moreno. The evidence was clear: bloodstains, shoes scattered about, and signs of a brutal struggle. By the time police arrived, the scene had been partially cleaned, but the evidence was overwhelming. 4 badly burned, decapitated bodies were found inside the building. A 5th body was discovered in a burned-out car nearby. While the corpses were too badly damaged for immediate identification, the families recognized the clothing from the video. The investigation quickly pointed to the CJNG's involvement in the abduction, but experts noticed something odd about the execution video itself. It bore the mark Pura MZ, an apparent reference to Mayo Zambada, leader of the rival Sinaloa cartel. This detail complicated the investigation. Was it a setup to frame the Sinaloa cartel, or had both cartels worked together? The answer remains unclear. What is known is that both cartels heavily recruit young men in this region. The fake job offer method is a common tactic. Those who refuse to join often meet brutal ends. The 5 friends likely refused to work as cartel hitmen, sealing their fate. The news of their deaths sparked rare outrage, even in violence-weary Mexico. Public protest erupted across Jalisco state. The brutality and apparent random nature of the attack hit home for many families. It served as a stark warning about the dangers facing young people in cartel-controlled areas.
These call centers offer high-paying jobs with attractive job benefits that are actually a hoax to trick young people into the CJNG, who then forcefully recruit applicants.
The community's response was immediate and powerful. Vigils were held, with hundreds gathering to mourn the 5 friends. Their families spoke out, demanding justice and action against the cartels. President Andrés Manuel López Obrador addressed the nation about the case. Federal prosecutors took over the investigation from local authorities, recognizing the cartel involvement. But as with many cartel-related crimes, justice remains elusive. The 5 young men joined the growing list of disappeared and murdered in Jalisco. Their story is tragically common in cartel-dominated regions, but the public nature of their deaths and the clear evidence forced a national conversation. The house where they were held became a crime scene of national importance. Investigators documented every detail, hoping to find leads that could bring the killers to justice. But the cartel's power in the region makes witnesses scarce and evidence hard to come by. This site outside Lagos de Moreno now stands as a grim reminder of the 5 friends' fate and the ongoing struggle against cartel violence. Their story forced many young people to reconsider job offers that seemed too good to be true. It exposed the cartel's growing desperation for recruits, and it showed the lengths they'll go to maintain control. The 5 friends' deaths became a rallying point for anti-cartel activists. Their families continued to demand justice, even knowing the odds are slim. Their story is now part of Mexico's tragic modern history. One more example of innocent lives destroyed by cartel violence. Their final photo showed fear before their deaths, revealing what they faced. The next story showed danger appearing suddenly during a simple moment, caught quietly in a last picture too.
La trata de personas, la explotación sexual y el narco van unidos. Y por lo tanto es fundamental que saquemos el foco de la vida de las chicas y nos concentremos en saber quiénes son los responsables políticos.
September 19th, 2025, Brenda del Castillo, Morena Verde, and Lara Gutierrez stepped into a van on a quiet night in Buenos Aires, expecting a celebration. But what awaited them would shake Argentina to its core. Their story isn't just another headline about cartel violence. It's about 3 young women whose lives were stolen in the most brutal, public way imaginable, and whose deaths have sparked a nationwide reckoning with organized crime's growing power. Brenda and Morena were cousins, both just 20 years old. Lara was 15, still in high school. All 3 had grown up in Buenos Aires' working-class neighborhoods, facing the daily reality of poverty and limited options. Like so many in their community, they struggled to support themselves and their families in a city increasingly plagued by cartel violence and economic hardship. On September 19, 2025, the 3 women disappeared. They'd been lured with the promise of a quick payout, $300 to attend what they thought was a party. But this party was a trap set by an international drug gang operating between Argentina and Peru. The gang accused them of stealing a small amount of drugs. Whether this was true or just fabricated as an excuse hardly matters in the face of what happened next. The women were taken to a house in Florencio Varela, a Buenos Aires suburb that's become a hub for cartel activity. There, they were tortured in ways too graphic to fully describe. Fingers cut off, nails ripped out, beaten, and suffocated. The brutality was staggering even by cartel standards. But what truly shocked Argentina was how this violence was broadcast. The entire torture and murder was live-streamed to a private group of 45 cartel associates. As the Buenos Aires provincial security minister revealed, a gang leader could be heard saying,
"This is what happens to those who steal drugs from me."
The only thing I ask is that you help us investigate this to the end, because all I want now is justice.
For 5 agonizing days, the women's families searched desperately. Then, on September 24th, police traced their cell phones to the house's backyard. There they found all 3 bodies buried in shallow graves. The discovery confirmed their worst fears and triggered an immediate massive response.
Thousands took to the streets of Buenos Aires. The victims' families led marches carrying banners, their names Lara, Brenda, and Morena, becoming a symbol of resistance. The response wasn't just about these 3 women. It tapped into a growing anger about how drug gangs are infiltrating Argentine society, particularly in poor neighborhoods abandoned by the state. As one cousin of the victims put it, "They had bad luck to find themselves at the wrong time with the wrong people."
Police moved quickly. Within days, they arrested 7 suspects, including the man who allegedly dug the graves and the driver who transported the women. But the real target was a 20-year-old Peruvian known as Little J, the suspected gang leader who ordered the murders as a warning to his own people about betrayal. Little J fled to Peru, but international cooperation led to his capture south of Lima. Authorities also arrested his right-hand man, a 23-year-old Argentine named Matias Osorio. The arrests were significant, but the sense of security among Buenos Aires residents remained shattered. What makes this case so significant isn't just the brutality. It's how it exposed the cartel's growing boldness. The live-stream torture was designed to send a message, not just to the victims' families, but to anyone who might cross the gang. It was a display of power, broadcast to those inside the organization as a warning. The case also forced Argentina to confront its rising crisis of gender-based violence. Feminist organizations quickly mobilized, connecting the murders to a broader pattern of femicide. 1 woman killed by a man every 36 hours in Argentina, according to recent statistics. No, it was about the intersection of organized crime, poverty, and the breakdown of social structures in vulnerable communities. The gangs filled the void left by weak institutions, offering protection and income until someone crosses the wrong line. The political response has been complicated. President Javier Milei, who had recently cut funding for gender violence programs, faced intense criticism. His administration's stance questioning the very concept of femicide in law became a focal point for protesters. At the same time, provincial and national officials shifted blame back and forth over security failures. Through it all, the family's voices have remained clear. The grandfather of Brenda and Moreno, fighting back tears at a protest, said, "You wouldn't do what they did to them to an animal." Lara's aunt added,
"We are here to demand justice for the girls because what happened is terrible. No one has the right to kill anyone. We want this band of miserable people who did this to the girls to be brought to justice."
The names Brenda, Morena, and Lara have become more than just a list of victims. They're a rallying cry for a society fighting back against organized crime's grip on daily life. Their story forced Argentina to look at the darker reality behind the headlines, the way poverty, gender violence, and organized crime intersect. It exposed how cartels use terror not just to control their own people, but to send messages to entire communities. And it showed that even in the face of such horror, people will march, protest, and demand justice rather than live in fear. As the legal process unfolds and suspects face trial, the memory of Brenda, Morena, and Lara continues to inspire action. Their deaths were meant to intimidate, but instead, they've become a catalyst for change. A reminder that even in the face of cartel terror, the fight for justice and dignity continues. Their last pictures captured an ordinary day before everything changed. Their disappearance showed how fast danger appears. The story coming up next revealed sudden violence during travel, caught in images that explained everything. March 3rd, 2023, began as an ordinary day for 4 friends from South Carolina. Their journey, intended as a quick medical trip to Matamoros, Mexico, would soon become a headline-grabbing tragedy. What happened next would expose the brutal reality of modern cartel violence and the dangers lurking just across the border. The group crossed into Tamaulipas State around 9:18 a.m. They'd planned carefully, booking a hotel in Brownsville and arranging directions to the clinic. But Matamoros is no ordinary border town. It's a city of over 500,000 people, dominated by powerful cartel factions. The U.S. State Department has classified the region as Level 4, Do Not Travel, equating the risk to war zones like Iraq and Afghanistan. Almost immediately after entering Mexico, their white minivan attracted unwanted attention. Gunmen fired on the vehicle, forcing it to a stop. The van crashed, its doors flung open, leaving the group vulnerable in the street. Within moments, heavily armed men surrounded them at gunpoint. Security cameras captured what happened next, a scene that would soon circulate worldwide. The footage shows a woman, later identified as Latavia Washington McGee, being roughly loaded into the bed of a white pickup truck. 2 men appear limp, possibly unconscious or worse, as they're dragged to the waiting vehicle.
Mexico. Tonight, the FBI now working with Mexican authorities. We have the disturbing surveillance video here showing heavily armed men pulling the Americans from their minivan. At least one of them can be seen.
Inside the battered minivan, receipts confirmed their medical tourism purpose. But investigators quickly realized this was a case of mistaken identity. The cartel likely believed they were Haitian drug smugglers. The U.S. citizens had no criminal history and were completely innocent. An innocent bystander, a Mexican woman over a block away, was also killed in the crossfire. Her death underscored the random nature of cartel violence. No one in Matamoros is truly safe when the bullets start flying. The 4 Americans were moved to multiple locations over the next 3 days. Cartel operatives transferred them between safe houses and clinics, trying to confuse authorities and avoid rescue efforts. Federal and local Mexican law enforcement coordinated closely with U.S. officials, but no American agencies were allowed to operate on Mexican soil. As news spread, the FBI offered a $50,000 reward for their safe return and the arrest of those responsible. The case quickly became an international incident, drawing rare attention to the daily dangers faced by locals in cartel-controlled regions. The victims' families watched the security footage in horror, recognizing their loved ones and the blonde hair of Latavia Washington McGee. The group of friends had grown up together in South Carolina, bonded like glue, according to relatives. Their close-knit connection made the attack even more devastating. As authorities pieced together the timeline, chilling details emerged. The group never made it to their medical appointment. Cell phone records and messages with the doctor's office showed their desperate attempts to get directions in a region with poor signal coverage. When Mexican security forces finally located the group, only 2 remained alive. Shaid Woodard and Zindel Brown were found dead, a grim confirmation of the cartel's brutality. Their bodies would undergo examination by Mexican authorities before being returned to the United States. The 2 survivors, Latavia Washington McGee and Eric Williams, were immediately transported to a Texas hospital. Williams had been shot twice in one leg and once in the other, his injuries a stark reminder of the violence they'd endured. Washington McGee, miraculously, was physically unharmed but deeply traumatized. Latavia recalled how the cartel disclosed that one of their friends is dead.
They told, after he didn't fight so long, they was gonna take him to the hospital. Then they came back like maybe an hour later and it was like he was dead.
Their rescue was bittersweet. The U.S. Attorney General vowed to do everything in our power to hold those responsible accountable. President Biden was kept updated as the investigation unfolded. The incident sparked international outrage and renewed calls for action against Mexican drug cartels. U.S. lawmakers discussed designating cartels as terrorist organizations, a move that could radically change how these groups are prosecuted. In an unprecedented move, the Gulf Cartel issued a public apology and handed over 5 alleged members to authorities. They left a note claiming these individuals were responsible, an attempt to shift blame and reduce pressure on the organization.
Plus, a note on the windshield purportedly signed by the cartel references, quote, 4 kidnapped Americans, 2 of which died, adding, quote, "We have decided to deliver those involved and directly responsible. The 5 men now in state police custody."
But justice in cartel-dominated regions is rarely so simple. Mexican authorities couldn't confirm if the suspects were truly responsible. The cartel's gesture was calculated, a strategic move to protect their broader operations while offering up expendable members. The Matamoros kidnappings became a stark warning about the dangers of cartel violence. What began as a simple medical trip ended with gunfire, death, and international headlines. The bullet-riddled van and security footage became lasting symbols of the ruthless reality facing anyone who enters cartel territory, willingly or not. The photos from this abduction spread quickly, showing how fast violence unfolds. In the next story, 2 friends met danger suddenly, with their final picture giving clues about what happened. February 5th, 2018, started like any other day for 2 Mexican federal agents, Alfonso Hernandez and Octavio Martinez. They were on vacation, attending a family celebration in Nayarit, a Pacific Coast state dominated by the Jalisco New Generation cartel. But as the day went on, both men vanished without a trace, marking the beginning of a chilling episode that would shake Mexico's entire law enforcement community. Within days, a horrifying video surfaced online. It showed Alfonso and Octavio kneeling, their hands bound behind their backs, flanked by 5 masked men wielding machine pistols and assault rifles. The air in the video is thick with tension. These masked men are clearly in control, their faces hidden but their message unmistakable. This wasn't just another cartel kidnapping. This was a direct message to Mexico's federal agencies. Both agents were part of the Criminal Investigation Agency, a kind of federal detective bureau under Mexico's Attorney General. In the video, one of the men reads from a prepared script, making forced confessions about alleged rights violations. He claims that government agents and the military had committed torture and theft. The cartels didn't just want to intimidate, they planned to disgrace the federal government using its own agents as pawns. What makes this incident particularly disturbing is its rarity. Local police officers had been forced to confess and executed on camera before, but this marked one of the first times federal agents were targeted in such a public, brutal fashion. The message was clear. The cartels were growing bolder, no longer fearing retribution from any level of government. The script the agents were forced to read included an ominous warning.
This will continue to happen to all of our colleagues from other agencies who do the same thing. Steal, kidnap, and hiding behind a government badge.
The cartels weren't just going after these 2 men. They were declaring open season on anyone in law enforcement they considered a threat. The Jalisco New Generation Cartel, Mexico's fastest-growing criminal organization, was known for its willingness to attack federal police and even military targets. In 2015, they shot down an army helicopter with a rocket launcher, killing 10 soldiers. This kidnapping was a continuation of their escalating campaign against the Mexican government. Despite the official statement that the 2 agents were off duty when abducted, the prepared script forced them to admit their undercover identities.
Understand, the fact that we dress up as normal workers doesn't mean they don't know who we are.
The statement read. The cartels were making it clear they could identify and track government agents no matter how deep they tried to hide. The video was carefully staged. Both men were kneeling, their postures broken, surrounded by masked gunmen. The setting was designed to evoke maximum fear, not just for the 2 agents, but for anyone watching in law enforcement. The cartels wanted to show their power, their ability to strike at the heart of government agencies. In a bitter twist, the script included a line stating,
"They have always respected us as authorities because they decided to do so, not because they couldn't harm us if they wanted to."
It was a clear demonstration of the power dynamics at play. The cartels were in control, choosing when and where to exercise their brutal authority. The location of their abduction wasn't random. Nayarit was firmly under the Jalisco New Generation cartel's control, making any law enforcement presence risky. By targeting federal agents there, the cartel sent a message about territorial dominance and their ability to operate with impunity. The Mexican Attorney General's office responded by promising that no efforts would be spared to find the two abducted agents, but the damage was already done. The video had already spread across social media, demonstrating the cartel's reach and their willingness to target federal authorities. The forced confessions in the video served a dual purpose. They humiliated the Mexican government while also providing propaganda for the cartel. By making federal agents confess to crimes against civilians, the cartel aimed to justify its own violence and undermine public trust in law enforcement. As news of the video spread, it sparked fear throughout Mexico's law enforcement agencies. If even federal agents weren't safe, what chance did local police officers have? The cartels had demonstrated their ability to identify, track, and capture government agents at will. Despite the public attention, details about what happened after the video remained scarce. The Attorney General's office maintained its search, but the fate of Alfonso Hernandez and Octavio Martinez became another grim chapter in Mexico's ongoing struggle against cartel violence. Their story serves as a stark reminder of the dangers faced by those working to fight organized crime in Mexico. For law enforcement across Mexico, the video remains a chilling warning about the risks of confronting powerful criminal syndicates entrenched in the country's social fabric. The last pictures seemed ordinary, but they became evidence of abrupt danger. Similarly, in the next story, another set of images would silently record a sudden, unexpected encounter with violence. October 21st, 2024, started as a typical market day for the Barrera Milan family. With a pickup loaded with plastic buckets and household goods, they left home for the open-air market in Xalapa, a route they traveled many times before. But this time, they never made it. Chilpancingo, Guerrero state capital, squeezed between cartel strongholds, has long been a battlefield between criminal organizations. The Ardillos cartel, notorious for its iron grip on the region, has been fighting the Tlacos for control. The Barrera Milan family, innocent traders, became casualties of this brutal turf war. Their story first made headlines when a video surfaced online. In it, a thin, shoeless boy, Angel, sat against a tree. His hands were tied, his head bowed, his voice barely above a whisper, as he recited canned phrases about working for a rival gang. It was clear to anyone watching, Angel was speaking under duress, a child forced to confess to save his family. The video sent shockwaves through Mexico. Cartel violence is tragically common, but the calculated use of a minor's forced confession was a new level of psychological warfare. It was a clear message. The cartel's reach extended to anyone, even children, and their brutality knew no limits. Authorities sprang into action, at least publicly. Photos circulated of police and soldiers searching dirt roads, deploying drones, and combing the brush. The Army launched helicopters. A $50,000 reward was posted for information. But as days passed, hope faded. What began as a search for missing persons quickly escalated. On October 27th, 4 relatives set out to find the missing family and vanished. On November 6th, the search ended in horror. The bodies of Angel, 3 other minors, and 7 adults were found dumped in the back of a pickup truck on the highway. Their remains bore the hallmarks of cartel torture, a brutal display meant to terrorize rivals and the community alike. The shock didn't stop the violence. Days later, Chilpancingo's newly elected mayor, Alejandro Arcos, was found and his head placed atop a pickup, echoing the fate of the Barrera Milan family. Cartel messages left on bodies became a grim calling card, a warning to anyone who challenged their rule. What happened to the other missing family members remains unknown. 13 were taken, but only 11 bodies returned. The fate of those who try to help is still a mystery. For the Barrera Milan family, one bad photograph, the supposed reason for their abduction, cost them everything. Their tragedy illustrates the cartel's stranglehold on the region. Even human rights workers speak anonymously, fearing cartel reprisal.
The state authorities have allowed these organized crime groups to gain very deeply rooted control of these areas,
said a Tlachinol, an activist.
This area is completely controlled by the Ardillos.
Government response has been largely performative. While military operations continue, the cartel's power only grows. Their rules now dictate daily life. Community assemblies are called by cartel leaders, not officials. Cooperation is mandatory. Consequences are fatal. The Barrera Milan case forced Mexico to confront hard truths about cartel influence. Their deaths exposed the government's inability or unwillingness to combat these criminal empires. It showed how entire communities live under constant threat, where even children become pawns in savage territorial disputes. For Angel, the nightmare ended in violence, but his story and the video forced from him became a symbol of the cartel's growing power and the government's fading control. It's a stark reminder that in some parts of Mexico, the rule of law now belongs to criminal organizations. Their story stands as both a warning and a call to action, because while the cartels may control territory, they cannot erase the memory of what they did to a boy who just wanted to help his family make a living.